Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan, and in this video we're going to be checking out the changes coming to not only Kairos but a few changes coming into Tzeentch as a whole. This is all for patch 6.1, which releases tomorrow. We've been granted a little bit of early access by Creative Assembly, a big thank you to them. We're going to jump right in because there's a lot to talk about here. Naturally, we do need to talk about his Lord and Faction effects, which have slightly changed, so let's go over all of them. Character experience plus 5% for all Lords, battle reinforcement time minus 50%, hero action success chance plus 15% all characters, construction time minus 33% for all buildings faction-wide. And then for the Lord effects we have as follows: uses fragments of sorcery to construct his own spell lore between battles. This is the brand new version. Cooldown minus 10% for all spells, barrier replenishment delay minus 20% for Lord's army, enemy hero action success chance minus 50%, and finally ambush defense chance plus 50% for Lord's army. And just in case you're interested, you can pick up Shadow Change for a dramatic discount. It's going to be cheaper than when Creative Assembly split it up on Instant Gaming. It's not a sponsored post, but it is an affiliate link, so it does support the channel at no extra cost to you. Right, campaign starts. So here it's going to be very much the same. You've got the same start position. The difference is that there are two active cults now for you, one in Bretonnia and one in the Northern Chaos Wastes. So if you want to teleport away, you are more than able to. You can leave fairly early on, just in case you don't like that start position, although Kairos is a lot stronger now, so you really won't have the same trouble that you've normally had. The benefit here of having two cults also means that you're getting cults spreading faster for more grimoires and anything else, so you will notice player power getting a little bit stronger just naturally through your campaign passage. But the element of choice is there, which definitely makes the Kairos campaign just a little bit better. So before we jump into the brand new mechanic, the skill line has changed. So this unique skill line has received a minor update. Overall, just kind of bring it in line with what's expected nowadays. The big thing here is obviously you've got a massive change to your skills as a whole. You will see that there is an automatic skill line that you'll start passively picking up as you start leveling. Not only that, but you do have your arcane conduit below. That one is tied to just natural spell cooldowns, so you'll be able to pick up all the passives from the 8 color laws. Overall, Kairos is getting an incredible power boost, making him one of the most disgusting spellcaster lords in the game, which is pretty much what was expected from Kairos Fateweaver. Every spell from all the laws that you've got access to will also take dramatic cost reductions as you start leveling up and putting those skill points in those areas. So now let's talk about the actual mechanic, because everything is tied together. So you do have a line which is automatically unlocked, and these are unlocked every interval of 5 levels, allowing you to get spells from different laws to play around with. So it's definitely a bit of a growing aspect. You're going to get just stronger and stronger as time progresses, just like a normal Total War campaign, but I feel like even more so with Kairos now. And as you start unlocking those skills, you'll be able to use the fragments of sorcery. So this is a brand new tab available on Kairos's page, and there you'll be able to switch around spells. From the very beginning, you've got access to a few, so you can play around with this, and you can do this as often as you want. If you want to create a very aggressive lore, you can do that. If you want to actually make more of a defensive type of army, yeah, you can also change that around too. This is exclusive to Kairos, but it's definitely very, very cool. There is no cooldown, so if you want to change around every time before you jump into a battle, even if you're getting into multiple battles per turn, yeah, do so. Naturally, each spell is tied to each rank, so early on you've got access to Spirit, Leech, for example, Fireball, Flock of Doom, which is a spell that I quite like, and when you look towards like Pink Fly, for example, you've got their Wind Blast, or you can start using some buffs for your armies, because it's tied to spell 1 for everyone being the same, spell 2 the same, and so on. This means that fairly early on, if you want to take advantage of choke points, especially since a few battles in the Southern Chaos Wastes have a few choke points, you can have a lot of AoE damage spells rather than some single target ones. Here I've got Cassandra, Flock of Doom, and of course Pink Fire, because Pink Fire is overall a pretty damn good spell. I've been testing it multiple amounts of times, and I must say you're going to be doing stupid amounts of damage with Kairos very early on. If you can get a choke point, or if you're just hitting loads of enemies, yeah, expect 50,000 plus types of damage just very early, which is lovely. So as you start progressing through it, you'll start unlocking more powerful spells. As you can see here, at rank 10, he can now start replacing Gleam Magic for Burning Head, for example, or Net of Antioch, whatever spell tickles your fancy. This is going to keep continuing getting more and more powerful. It does mean that your spell unlocks are going to be a little bit slower than most spellcaster lords, because obviously you're not just going to be able to focus on that skill line, but the power jump definitely gets stronger and stronger as you start seeing it get up. You've got Purple Sun, which is a fantastic spell. You can even get Final Transmutation at the end, one of my favorite spells, to be honest, but I think that's kind of just linked to the tabletop stuff. And since you're able to reduce the cost of these spells quite dramatically, you're going to be casting, and casting again. You pair up Kairos now with the Blue Scribes, and it's just going to be absolutely hilarious all campaign through. So you'll have access to all your spells by rank 20. That doesn't really take too long, as obviously you do have the faction effect of character experience gain plus 5%. You can also get some other bonuses as you progress. There is a fair amount of battles from the beginning of your campaign also, so you're going to be able to pick up a lot of stuff fairly quickly. This testing was turn 27. I've done it a little bit faster in other ones. It just depends on how quickly you deal with the Nurgle faction, the Slaanesh faction if you so wish, and then going straight into Teclis, because he's probably going to be the biggest issue. You will still need a defensive line against Oxyotl, keep that in mind, but a few changes have come into effect in the campaign aspect that we'll talk about in just a little bit, which will make things a little bit better. I would definitely put Kairos on par with all the other expert spellcaster lords now. He's able to solo armies by himself. Here's just a little thing against some garrison, and he's just killing them off, no damage. The AI is just kind of taking it. They're trying to survive as much as they can. In battle, he definitely feels quite strong. Naturally, he's always been quite squishy, even though he's a Lord of Change. But now, with the amount of spell damage that you're going to be doing, I've been focusing very heavily on just really aggressive spell laws, and it definitely feels super, super good. This is just taking you back to how it used to work on the tabletop, where Kairos used to have access to a lot of spells. One of the best spellcasters on the tabletop. Named characters weren't that useful, but it's definitely something for a fluffy feel. Here's a bit different because obviously in Total War, your named characters are usually your best, and it definitely feels like he is one of the best right now. Okay, so now I want to talk about the generic changes coming to Tzeentch, because a bunch of changes have come in. So when it comes to building, a few things have changed. The Tzeentch cultists are now available at tier 2 with capacity at tier 3. This is a change from tier 3 to tier 4, as they felt that spellcasters needed to be a little bit easier to recruit. The same thing can be said about Chaos Sorcerers, as now they can be recruited at tier 3 instead of tier 4. This allows Exalted Champions and Chaos Sorcerers to be picked up fairly early, and the idea here is obviously Tzeentch is a very magic-heavy themed faction, but definitely needs a little bit of extra support. And a few units are going to be recruited a little bit earlier too. Marauder Horsemen of Tzeentch can now be recruited at tier 2. Chaos Warriors with Halberds at tier 3. Chosen and Chosen with Halberds can be recruited at tier 4. And the Chaos Spawns have been moved from tier 3 in the Mortal Servants area to the Forgers of Change, still remaining at tier 3, which is obviously quite nice. Economy has also been buffed up fairly briefly, so there's a little bit of extra cash coming in naturally, and also the buildings that produce money also will produce an additional bonus alongside the already established additional bonus of cash, as long as the magic is tempestuous rather than just strong. Tzeentch did definitely suffer from economy woes very early on, and it did become a massive issue because you were fighting against a lot of factions. This is going to make things feel a lot better. I've played a fairly large campaign with Tzeentch over the weekend whilst I've been ill at home, and they 100% feel just a lot better. Another minor change is that your capital buildings have been changed a little bit. The Rift Chain offers Blue Horrors and Chaos Furies at tier 1, where the Keep Chain, so that's the mortal one, offers Standard and Spear Marauders at tier 1. So if you want to just get more mortals in, that feels quite good. Maybe in the future, if we get a third legendary lord for Tzeentch, there'll be more of a use to go for more mortals. But with Kairos, I think a lot of people are going to be focusing around the demons. Heralds of Tzeentch have now gotten their own proper unique skill line, which means that they're going to feel like proper lord choices now. I know a lot of people were kind of going back and forth. Sometimes you'd only have a herald just because you wanted to get a Lord of Change. Now they definitely do feel a lot better again, getting the locust abilities and so on, but actually feeling like a proper Lord option too. Also being able to reduce the winds of magic a little bit more for the common Law of Metal or the Law of Tzeentch, depending on what you have them with. I think a big issue for the Heralds is that they just felt like the hero version, just as a Lord form. The distinction here is going to make that just feel nicer. And you can dramatically buff up the ability of blue horrors, pink horrors, and exalted pink horrors, making them much stronger in terms of missile damage and also speed. So they're going to be darting around the battlefield in a very adorable way as they normally are. The same thing can be said about the Lord of Change. Lord of Changes are supposed to be absolutely amazing spellcasters, and obviously they are big, greater demons, but they always kind of felt a little bit less. Now they do have some more unique spells alongside that, so you can get some big army buffs, you can get some other changes here and there. Again, great, you can stylize with certain armies, make them more focused around charging, for example, more defensive. I like this, it's a nice change. Here's hoping we don't have to wait too long until we get a third faction for Tzeentch, because it would be nice just to have a little bit of variety, but as it stands, definitely a lot better than it used to be. But with that being said, there are a few videos coming out today, so this should be video number 2, and there will be one more focusing around a little bit of cafe stuff. If you're interested in seeing more, I will be live on twitch.tv/thegreatbookofgrudges. Pop by, say hi, and let's talk about 6.1. This patch releases tomorrow for you guys, so it's not too long now. I hope you have fun with what is essentially Shadows of Change 3.0. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.